Good evening and welcome to Everything Vaguely Paranormal. I'm Ryan Roberts, and these are my partners in the paranormal, Mr. Blake Smith and Miss Shelley Pruitt. How are we doing tonight, guys?
Well, we're doing it right. I'm going to speak on Shelly's behalf for just a second because Shelly, if Shelly dips out tonight, we're just going to let her go because Shelly's a little fuzzy, Shelly's a little dizzy, because we all know that thing when you're doing something way too fast and you open a cabinet door and you raise your head too super fast and then you ping the back of your head with the corner of the cabinet. That is what she has done. So, yeah, we've advised her to go seek attention. But in true form and fashion, as we always do, we show up for y'all. So if she dips out, that will be why.
I'm not no punk ass bitch, right?
No, even though
I raised up and I bumped the back of my skull really bad, and everything to me sounds like I'm speaking in slow motion. So just bear with me. Everything that they say sounds like it's like the Charlie Brown people, wah wah wah. So I'm going to do my best to hang in with you. But if I dip out, please forgive me. I'm having a difficult time registering what's being said right now, and I think I have a concussion, but hey, I'm here for the peeps, right?
And this is how you know we're friends or we're just dicks, because in the pre-broadcast we started talking like the Charlie Brown teacher to confuse her even further.
Did.
So
Y'all are such assholes.
We did.
Yeah,
we love you though.
I know you do.
I'm doing fantastic tonight, Ryan. Thank you for asking.
All right, so one concussion, one fantastic. I'm doing well.
Hey, real quick, Ryan.
Yeah.
We want to say a thank you to Will Connor
Absolutely.
and Matthew Campbell for inviting us to do the keynote address at the. Am I talking really slow? I feel like I am.
You're fine.
It's
Okay. The keynote address at Texas A&M for their Lore Fest. We had such a good time. We had such great hospitality and such a welcoming atmosphere that we are truly lucky and grateful to have been part of that. And hey, to all of you Patreon members and to all of our friends who, the second we posted up that we're about to go and do the keynote address, that were cheering for us, that were saying, hey, when do you go on? We're here for you. Thank you. I was very nervous personally. It was a big deal. And those that jumped in, that took a minute out of their day to say, you've got this. Thank you. I was a nervous wreck. And for those of you that came in and said, hey, you got it. I heard you. I saw you. And thank you.
It did help. Me and Shelly's stomachs were turning cartwheels. Blake was just eating brownies. So
I was perfectly fine eating brownies in the lunch break room. I was great, but thanks for the encouragement, y'all.
And it meant a lot to us. I'm sorry, a lot to us to be invited, and a lot to us. It was very important.
It was.
And we get to put this on our resume. And thank you. Thank you if you were there cheering for us. We appreciate you so much.
We do. It was fantastic. It was an amazing time. And there were a lot of tales of like skullduggery and some like weird like body snatching and stuff like that, which is kind of what we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about body snatching and grave digging. Not necessarily grave digging, but grave robbing. Kind of robbing the grave. So guys, have you dug much into the subject at all?
I thought you were about to ask if we've dug many graves. I was about to be like,
oh, yes.
Lights the grave, digging.
Mind your business, boy.
I'm not gonna say that on camera. Like, this is being recorded. Like, I mean, shit. But yes, I participated in. No, I'm just kidding. I have not participated in. No, I know a couple of stories. One of my favorites, I think you're actually going to cover tonight, which is very interesting. So I can't wait to hear that one when you get to it.
What about you, Shelly?
I'm ready to hear the story. Let's go.
All right, let's rock and roll. All right, so the first one we're going to talk about McCurdy the Outlaw and his body being stolen.
This is the one that I know.
So one day in the winter of 1976, a production crew was very busy shooting an upcoming episode of the very popular television series, The $6 Million Man. The location of the shoot was the Laugh in the Dark Funhouse in Long Beach, California. The crew had been working inside all day, and the cameraman really wanted that perfect shot. So he had to arrange several of the props, particularly a dummy covered in wax. The cameraman didn't really feel like moving it himself, so he called his assistant over. and he told him that he needed him to set up the shot. And he told his assistant to pick up the dummy and move it over to the left. The assistant did as he was told, but when he moved it, something just didn't seem right. The dummy didn't feel like any prop that he had ever touched in his entire life. And to make matters worse, as he moved the prop to the left, one of the dummy's arms fell off. The assistant was annoyed that he had damaged the prop, so he reached down to grab the broken limb, and when he did, he noticed something very strange. He saw what looked like a bone sticking out of the prop's broken limb. Curious, the assistant reached down to pick up the arm to take a closer look, and noticed the material around the bone seemed to be that of actual human flesh. The assistant was absolutely shocked, and he called out for the cameraman. The cameraman ran over, and the assistant told him all about the severed limb. The cameraman looked perplexed and pulled out his pocket knife and scraped a bit of the wax and paint off of the limb. The color instantly drained out of his face, and he turned as white as a ghost, because underneath all the wax and paint was human skin. He and the assistant looked at each other and agreed they should call the cops. The police came and collected the body and took it to the LA County morgue, where the county coroner, Dr. Thomas Noguchi, began to examine the body. He stripped away the wax and paint, and underneath found a white male in his 30s. And upon further examination, it seemed as if he had died from a gunshot wound straight to the chest. But one thing was for sure, he was a finely preserved specimen, and the product of one hell of an embalming job. So Dr. Noguchi ran several tests to see why he was so well preserved. The tests came back positive for large quantities of arsenic, which can petrify a corpse and preserve its integrity for many years. While he had the perfect specimen, the mystery still remained just who this corpse was. To find the answer, the LA County investigators got to work, trying to figure out just how a dead man ended up being a prop at a local funhouse. After a strenuous search, the investigators had a break in the case. They found out that the funhouse had purchased the prop from the Hollywood Wax Museum in 1971. The Wax Museum had actually acquired it years earlier from a man named Louis Sony, who had bought the dummy from a carny in the 1920s. When Sony bought it, the carny told him that it was actually the body of an infamous outlaw from Oklahoma, who died in a gunfight, and his name was Elmer McCurdy. Sony thought that was a really cool story. And after he bought the mummy, he covered it in wax and used it as a prop in his show he had put together about criminals. The investigators were satisfied with the leads they had tracked down and decided to contact the state of Oklahoma, just to let them know that they had McCurdy's body and to ask them what they knew of the outlaw and about his trek and how he just got to California. As a matter of fact, the state of Oklahoma knew a whole lot about McCurdy, and the story that unfolded was a fascinating one. Elmer was a train robber, bank robber, and safecracker. After he killed a man in Kansas, Elmer silently drifted into Oklahoma, which perfectly matched his MO, because Elmer liked to drift around the plains, going from town to town and taking odd jobs, where he would scope out his new town, looking high and low for an easy bank or a train to rob. And once he eyed his target, he would recruit a few local ne'er-do-wells and do the job, split the loot with the temporary gang, and then split town. That was until he ran out of money, and then he'd show up in another town and perpetuate the cycle over and over and over again. In September of 1911, Elmer popped up just outside of Tulsa in the small Oklahoma town of Pawhuska. Elmer picked up a job and got familiar with the town, and after working a few weeks, he learned of a big score that was coming into the train depot in town, and that score was just way too big to pass up. A train was coming into town carrying a payment from the U.S. government to the Osage Nation totaling about $400,000. But if Elmer had his way, that money wasn't going to make it into town. It was going right into Elmer's pocket. So he recruited 2 gang members, and on October the 4th, 1911, the trio held up the train. As they went from train car to train car, they were so excited at the idea of their big score. but it soon became evident that they had robbed the wrong train. They found no bank car flushed with thousands of dollars. All they found were scores of empty passenger cars and a mail car full of letters. And all they walked away with what was worth anything was about $46 in cash and 2 bottles of whiskey.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a shitty fucking haul.
So,
$42 and 2 bottles of whiskey.
Right.
I mean, that's somebody's big loot right there, but not the one they were hoping for.
But after
That's
thinking you're
Tuesday.
That's Tuesday.
But after thinking you're gonna make $400,000, $46 and 2 bottles of whiskey, man, that's like, good lord. All right, so the angry gang split up because they were just like, man, we didn't make anything. Screw this. And Elmer took the 2 bottles of whiskey and gave the $46 to his other compatriots. And Elmer retreated to his friend Charlie Ruard's ranch. Not long after the train robbery, the sheriff of Pawhuska found out about what Elmer had done and formed a posse to hunt down Elmer McCurdy. After an expansive search, they found him a few days later on October the 6th, staying in a hayloft on Ruard's ranch. By the time the posse arrived, McCurdy was blind drunk, and they called out for him to surrender. Elmer took several shots at the posse and missed his target every single time. But when the posse returned fire, their shots found their mark and blew a gaping hole in McCurdy's chest. Elmer was quickly taken to the local undertaker to be embalmed, so he could receive a proper burial. But as the body was being embalmed and filled with the arsenic solution, the undertaker and sheriff put feelers out into the area, trying to track down a family member or a friend to come and claim Elmer. But much to everyone's surprise, no one ever came. The undertaker was rather proud of his work, so he decided to prop Elmer up and put him on display in the back of his office, and began to charge curious townsfolk a nickel apiece to come and look at the dead outlaw. And for about 5 years, people came from far and wide to catch a glimpse of Elmer, giving the undertaker free advertising for his services. But one day, a very angry man walked into his office and got into the undertaker's face. He screamed, "What are you doing? What you are doing is an abomination. Elmer J. McCurdy is my brother. I intend to take him back to Kansas and give him a decent burial. In the family plot, we've been trying to find him for a long time." The undertaker understood the man's frustration. He was going to be sad to see his cash cow go, but he couldn't rightfully keep Elmer from his family. So he let the man load up the body into a wagon and watched Elmer ride away. But what the undertaker didn't realize was that so-called brother wasn't Elmer's brother at all. He was actually a traveling carny who worked for a carnival and had just duped the undertaker into selling him Elmer McCurdy's body.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm. And so Elmer McCurdy's body went out west and went on the carnival circuit.
Hold on, wait. You just said duped him into selling the body to him. So this undertaker understands that it's his quote unquote brother.
He thinks it's his brother.
But he still makes his quote unquote brother pay for his quote unquote brother's body.
Well, you gotta remember they were embalming him. There were certain fees involved with that.
Right.
Okay.
You want me to release it? I'm going to give you this is what it costs to do this.
That's what I'm clarifying, because what it made it sound like, the way you just told the story, is it made it sound like this guy comes in and goes, "That's my brother," and guy's like, "I'll give you the body if you pay me for it."
No, he let him have
Got
it.
it.
But like,
so he's basically
but
clearing the bill of
fees.
services.
Right.
Yeah.
He's clearing the bill of the services in order to get the body released. Got it.
Okay. And his cash cow's out the door, so now it's 5 cents he's getting every time somebody wants to come look at him, So, but anyway, Elmer's body goes west, and he was lost until he was found in the funhouse. And now that the investigators in the state of Oklahoma had a positive ID on Elmer McCurdy, Oklahoma decided it was time to give him a real burial. So on April the 14th, 1977, Elmer was flown to Guthrie, Oklahoma, and buried in Boot Hill Cemetery in his own plot years after his death. And that was Elmer McCurdy's.
I fucking love this story. This story is it's one of those that makes you think, how many times have I been in like a horror house? Horror
Horror.
haunted horror. Yeah, let me make sure I hit that double R real hard.
Horror house.
Horror house. But how many times have you been in like a haunted house or a horror house and like seen the skeletons like hanging from the ceiling? How many times have you stopped to think,
Right.
could that be a real body? Could that be a
Mhm.
real?
Oh, I do it all the time.
This has
Mhm.
legitimately happened. Now,
Yeah.
now you've heard the story. Like, I don't know. I bet you're gonna be thinking differently when you go through them haunted houses now and you feel them body bags and shit like that. What if it is seriously like a serial killer's way to get away with not having to bury bodies?
I think there's actually a horror movie that was made a few years ago that was based on that.
That's
Might have,
what I'm saying.
was it called Hell House? I think it was called Hell House, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm
Like,
saying, I
Oh, I
remember.
don't know.
I remember House of Wax.
oh yeah,
Remember
the
that?
old Vincent Price one or the one with
No,
Paris Hilton?
the horrible
Yeah.
shit of a reboot with
Oh yeah,
Paris Hilton when I was
yes.
glad that she died. I'm
Dude,
sorry, spoiler
On
alert.
screen.
That was
On
only-
screen. On
that was-
screen.
On
yeah,
screen, yes, it was on screen
Her
death.
character died. My God. Lord, we're 18 and up. Everybody knows that I'm talking about her character dying on screen. Shit. But anyways, how many of those do you think that could have actually been real bodies? I mean, come on now. Every time you go in a haunted house, you're gonna think about it now.
I think the farther you go back in history, the more likely it is that whenever you went to one of those sideshow attractions, that you may have actually been seeing
Mm-hmm.
an actual corpse.
Mm-hmm.
I think the more into the modern era you move, the less likely it is because they are all about the show, the spectacle, this and that. But I think the farther back in history you go, the more likely you were to have seen an actual corpse on display. You go back to
Right.
Julia Pastrana in the P.T. Barnum time, who was the bear woman who was exhibited after she died, along with her infant child, that were
Mm-hmm.
mummified and put on display. So, but I think as you move into the more modern era, that you don't have as much of the actual corpse. But what year is this, Ryan?
This was 18. So he died in 18. Hang on one second.
That's okay. We're talking 18 something.
Oh, I'm
He
I
was
sorry.
think
No, he died in 1911. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
1911. I think
Uh-huh.
even then, because I believe Julia Pastrana was somewhere in like 1914. I think it's more likely you're going to get an actual corpse being displayed than the theatrical,
Right.
resurrection, reincarnation, whatever you want to say, of the body. So yeah,
I mean, and they weren't
that's
exactly
creepy.
ethical. They weren't exactly ethical back
No.
then. As we've moved along, back then it was kind of like anything for like a lark, pretty much. Like we're gonna, like you said, like PT
If
Barnum
it'll
would just
earn
put.
money, if it'll earn money,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But Julia Pastrana was not P.T. Barnum. I want to be very clear about that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you go into the freak shows, the sideshows, and they're exhibiting a mummified corpse. Very likely to be an actual mummified corpse. The farther back you go.
Back then, this is nothing that would have been like,
No.
I mean, this is pretty common back then. But I'm going to say one
Right.
thing: if my body gets snatched and it's on display and people are paying to come see my mummified corpse, just leave me be. I'm in the spotlight. I'm good. Just leave
You know
me
what?
on
Me too,
display.
child,
I'm
but just
good.
make me look good.
I
That's
know.
all
Just
have
make
to
sure
say.
my
Just make
makeup
me
is
look good.
done. Make sure my
Yes.
nails are done. Just make me look good. That's it. Just leave me there, Ryan, Shelley. You don't have to come barging and be like, "That's my brother." No, just leave me in the spotlight. I'm fine.
That's my
I'll
brother.
pay
I
about
don't know
25
you.
cents. Yeah, it'll be fine.
That's my brother. I don't know you. Say it with conviction.
That's right. And Elmer McCurdy, is he still on display? I believe he is he
He
not?
may be somewhere.
I believe he still is in the
No,
Oklahoma
no, no,
Museum
no,
of.
no.
I
He was
thought they were-
buried. He was
I was
buried. He
gonna
was
say,
buried in Boot Hill Cemetery.
Cool. You just said he was buried.
Yeah,
My
but he was.
apologies. I have a head injury. Leave me alone.
No,
He
not
was-
you. I'm talking to Ryan.
I'm saying he was buried, but like I want to say there was someone else I want to say too that maybe still be on display that kind of had a similar story, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I think I've heard a similar story where like a guy just kind of never got claimed, and so like
Don't ask me to think right now. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So a lot of people in the comments are actually saying things like supposedly the skulls in the pool and the poltergeist were real.
I have heard that.
And supposedly
I have heard that as well.
Supposedly Disney started out with real skeletons on one of their rides. Yeah, that's Anyways, and then one
Like-
person said that they got me on making me look pretty. So thanks, Becca.
Well, that's why they think all the crazy shit happened on the set of Poltergeist and to all the people after the fact, because they actually disturbed someone's graves.
Yeah.
And for the pool
We'll
scene,
do an episode over that, because that one, and actually the curse of that actually fascinates me. So maybe we'll do the one over that.
Yeah. It's very interesting. But
but I love Mr. McCurdy's story. His one has always been one that's fascinated me, just because.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what fascinates more about it is the decomp that didn't happen on his body. You know,
right? That arsenic solution just seemed to like mummify him and preserve him. I wonder how many. If it was just that particular undertaker, or if it was just the actual embalming equipment back then. Like if you were to open up some of those caskets, if the corpses would still be preserved from them.
I don't know. Be interesting.
Yeah,
Maybe
I don't know. I'm not open. I'm not weird. Y'all are weird.
Go dig one up, Brian. Go dig it up.
So let's go find out.
No.
All right, so we're gonna move on to our next story. This is the story of Burke and Hare. Now, in the early Burke and Hare.
Burke and Hare. H-A-R-E?
Yes. H-A-R-E. Burke and Hare.
Okay.
Not a Burke and Hare.
And Hare.
Burke and Hare. Got it.
Not Birkin like the handbag. Okay.
Not a Merkin.
Not a Merkin.
Not a Merkin. It's
I never
Burke
thought
and
Merkin
Hare.
weirdos. Okay, go ahead.
Leave it to the two guys on the screen there that are like 12-year-olds.
Y'all
That
are
are like,
weird.
a
Go ahead.
Merkin?
Continue on with your fabulous story.
Now, in the early 1800s, body snatching was big business. Medical colleges were in need of a steady stream of corpses for dissections. In order to inform the future medical professionals about the ins and outs of the human body. But sourcing these cadavers wasn't always ethical. Doctors and their medical colleagues would often turn to deviants and employ grave robbers and body snatchers to keep the bodies rolling in. And in the early 1800s, none were more feared than William Burke and William Hare. Burke was born in Ireland in 1792, and in 1818 moved to Scotland to begin work on the Union Canal. At first, Burke didn't have any friends and became rather lonely, so he took up with a particularly ugly woman named Helen McDougal. that was her description. I am not kidding. She was a very ugly woman, apparently.
Damn, right? Doesn't mean you have to repeat it, bro.
I mean, she's a true ghoul in history, too, so she deserves it. So Burke and McDougal carried on for about 9 years. He obviously didn't mind. And while Burke was happy with her, he also needed an actual guy friend. And one day, he found it. In another man he met working on the canal named William Hare. Now, Hare had come to Edinburgh around the same time as Burke, and took up living in a lodging house, waiting until the operator died, and then got with the operator's wife, and effectively took over the lodging house, raking in all the money. So he was like homewrecker and took the business.
All right. In it for the long game. I like it. I can appreciate it.
Right.
Got it.
Now, once Hare assumed the position of the operator and took over the lodging house, an elderly tenant of his named Donald suddenly died on November the 29th, 1827. Which was no skin off of Hare's back, really, but there was only one problem. The man owed Hare at least £4 for rent, which caused Hare to be short on money and made him absolutely livid. So in between his grumbling and stewing, he contemplated just how he would get his money, when suddenly inspiration struck. Hare knew exactly how he would get his pound of flesh. He would simply sell Donald's body to an anatomy school, and would get his money back and then some. But Hare knew he couldn't put his plan into action alone. So he called on his old buddy Burke. And Burke came over, and he and Hare scooped up Donald's body and took it down the road to the office of Dr. Robert Knox in the middle of downtown Edinburgh at 10 Surgeon Square. Now, Dr. Knox was the best surgical teacher in the city, and he paid the best for surgical specimens. But best of all, he didn't ask too many questions about how his suppliers came across the specimens they were selling. So it was perfect. It was the perfect place for the duo to take Donald's body. The ghouls knocked on the door, and Dr. Knox's assistants came out to look over Donald's corpse. They thought he made a fine specimen, so they paid Burke and Hare £7 for their ill-gotten gains, and told them to come back anytime they had another body. The two goons just looked at each other and smiled. They knew they would be back very, very soon.
So one of the comments that was just put in that got
Mhm.
me was, so hair was a hair short on cash.
Boo! Boo!
Who was that?
Boo!
Speed buggy duggy.
Boo, Doug!
Speed
You're
buggy
better.
Dougie. You're
Doug, you're
better
better
than
than that.
that. Yeah.
Sorry, it made me laugh. I appreciated it.
I have
I'm
a
here
head
for it,
injury
Doug.
and I'm
Thanks,
even
Doug.
going boo. Fuck that. I expect more, Doug. Be better.
Oh God. Anyways.
A few weeks later, another opportunity presented itself. A miller named Joseph took up residence over at Hare's lodging house. Shortly after his arrival, he came down with a really bad fever, which put Hare in a bad position. He feared the sickness could spread to he and his wife, which could keep potential lodgers away from his business.
Must have been a bad hair day.
That was a
Boo.
bad hair day. That was good. No,
I'm
fuck
going to
you,
drive
Ryan.
to
That was
Longview
funny.
and kick your ass.
That one was funny. That was funny. It was
for
a
it.
bad hair day.
Go for it. I won't be here, bro. Anyways, go ahead.
So he decided Joseph had to go. But once again, the light bulb went off in his head. He could get rid of Joseph, and he could make some money in the process. So he called on his old friend Burke, and the two men snuck into Joseph's bedroom. While Joseph was sleeping, Burke grabbed a pillow and shoved it over Joseph's face. Joseph put up a struggle but was too weak from fever to even put up a good fight. And eventually, all the air left his lungs, and Joseph died right there in his bed. Hare and Burke wasted no time and carried Joseph down the street straight to Dr. Knox's medical college, and this time collected 10 pounds for their trouble. Satisfied with their take, the two split the payment and enjoyed the fruits of their labor. But
Can I ask real quick?
Mhm.
10 pounds then in today's money, what would that be in US dollars?
This is 1812-ish, I think. So
1812, 10 British pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Today's cash. I'm just trying to get an idea how much they were making per body.
Mm-hmm.
Was it worth the risk?
18 what?
1812.
1812, 10
And it was 10 pounds and
Mhm.
then convert it to today's money.
They are making about $618 in today's money.
Oh, I'm not sure that's worth me going to jail for body snatching.
I mean,
$600.
But then again, you have to know how much $600 could get you back then. I mean,
Or
like that's
618 pounds, whatever.
Okay,
Right.
okay, 618 pounds in today's money. Can you do the converter to see how much 618 pounds of today's money?
Not a lot. Never mind. I ain't gonna say that out loud.
Sorry. Having a hard time with words. It's all good.
It's okay.
About $804.
But still,
No,
I mean,
not enough to go to jail for it. No.
no, I mean, but this is like their side hustle right now. So I mean, because one of them still has the job running the lodging house, and the other one's still digging the canal. So this is their
But
side hustle. This is extra cash.
$804 per corpse.
Body.
Right.
That's
but it's like
not terrible.
But no, it's not terrible. And it's also like, what's it worth to you? I mean, like, obviously we wouldn't do that because that's not a whole lot of money. But at the same time, like, these two just don't have any qualms or anything about what they're doing. So there's
I don't know. I might sell the two of you. Anyway.
Shit.
We wouldn't? No, I'm just kidding.
So the two split the payment and enjoyed the fruits of their labor, but realized they made more money this time around than on their previous job. The two wondered if they could keep this streak going, but didn't have to wait long because another sick individual was unlucky enough to find himself lodging in Hare's house. Hare again decided to dispose of the sick man and called Burke to come over. Like the last time, the pair snuck into the sick man's room and crept over to his bed. Hare sprang into action and laid all of his weight down on top of the man while Burke held his hands over the man's mouth and nose until the man's heart stopped. The duo instantly scooped him up and took him down the road again to Dr. Knox's place. They again collected 10 pounds from Dr. Knox's assistants and became curious as to why they were receiving so much. So they asked, and they were told that in the winter, corpses fetched more money because there was a higher demand when school was in full session. Which, of course, was the worst thing anything could have told the two. Because instead of waiting for sick people to check in and get ill at Hare's lodging house, they began to seek out victims in town. And the first victim of their new scheme was an elderly beggar woman named Abigail Simpson. In February of 1828, she came into town to collect part of the pension that she had, but had the great misfortune of running across Hare. Hare stopped her on the street and began talking to her and found out why she was in town. All Hare saw was dollar signs, so naturally he invited her back to his lodging house for a little drink. Hare's plan was to get her drunk and have her be he and Burke's latest victim. But when it came time to kill the old woman, Hare just couldn't do it. Abigail had drunk him under the table, and Hare had to go to bed. This old lady could hold her liquor.
That's how I'd survive right there.
That's exactly how Shelley would survive. 14 shots in, Shelley's like, let's dance. And the guy's like, oh, fuck this shit.
Yeah, goes to bed.
I win.
But the next morning, he rose early and called on Burke. While Abigail was sleeping off her drunk, the two killed her and stuffed her body into a tea chest, and waited until nightfall to haul her down to Dr. Knox's, getting paid a handsome sum for their work. The two had figured out a new career and seemed to be quite good at it. So good, in fact, that they quit their day jobs and began body snatching full time. The people in the neighborhood were confused as to why the duo was wearing better clothes and were staying drunk most of the time. But when they pressed the pair, all the pair said was they had come into a great inheritance. But still, no one really bought it.
They're not related, but they came into an inheritance.
Yes, that's what they told people. We happen to come into an inheritance at the same time, and we're doing way better.
We're not related, but we
No.
both came into some cash. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Flaws in the
However,
story.
but since no one really bought it. However, their new profession kept them fed in the winter. But when the spring rolled around, they decided to get greedy and set their sights on a well-known sex worker named Mary Patterson. Now, Mary was 18 years old and was absolutely beautiful. She was quite popular in the red light district. However, since she was a sex worker, no one really cared exactly what happened to her, unfortunately. And Burke used that fact to his advantage. As he approached Mary and her friend Janet Brown walking into a pub on April the 9th, 1828. Burke began chatting them up and bought them a shot of whiskey. He had already baited the hook. So he invited the girls back to his place for more drink and a bit of breakfast. These girls were not going to pass up free food and drink. So they obliged him and followed him back to what they assumed was his house. But Burke was using his brother's house as a front for his own. So if his potential victims got away, they would lead authorities back to his brother's place instead of his.
What a dick.
A genius trap the girls didn't know they were walking into. Now, once back at the house, the girls ate breakfast and drank with Burke until Mary was absolutely trashed. But Janet was much better at holding her liquor, which was a big problem for Burke. See, Burke wanted both girls, but if he could only get away with one, it was just as well for him. All he wanted was money in his pocket. But to even get one of them, he still had to get Janet drunk. However, as he was getting her another glass of whiskey, his longtime girlfriend, the ugly-ass Helen McDougal, came busting through the front door.
Damn, man. Shit.
She came busting through the front door. What?
God.
She was absolutely furious because she had heard that Burke was hanging out with two very pretty young women, and she had become extremely jealous. She flew into a rage and berated Burke and Janet, and Burke's blood began to boil as he grabbed Helen and beat her to a pulp right in front of Janet. All the while, what?
I said, oh.
Yeah. All the while, Mary had passed out in a chair in the corner.
And Mary's the sex worker, right?
Yes. She's
Okay.
And Janet's her friend. It all proved to be too much for Janet, so she got up and left, leaving her friend behind at the mercy of the ghoul that had lured them into the house with alcohol. But Janet's conscience began eating at her. She felt terrible about leaving her friend, so she returned about 20 minutes later to retrieve Mary. But when she got back, there was no Burke, no Helen, or Mary to be found. All that was waiting on her was Hare and his wife. Janet asked where Mary and Burke were. Hare said she and Mr. Burke had stepped out. But little did Janet know, it was too late. Her friend had been murdered and stuffed under the bed just a few feet from where she was standing. and Burke had taken off down to Dr. Knox's to let him know that he and Hare had a body for him. So in order to stall Janet until Burke returned, Janet was offered another drink by Hare. Janet accepted the invitation and was about to drink when suddenly there was a knock at the door. A friend of a friend had seen Janet return to the home and came to check on her. Janet took this as divine providence and left with the friend. She never saw Mary again and always wondered what happened to her, but had no idea just how lucky she was. After Janet left, Burke and Hare shoved Mary's body into a tea chest and walked it down to Dr. Knox's. But something was a little odd. The students and Knox himself noticed that Mary's body seemed to be a little fresh. One of the students even recognized her and thought something was fishy. So he piped up and said, I want to know how she died. Burke said, from drinking herself to death. I bought her from an old hag in Canongate. If you don't believe me, I'll take you to her. The students and doctor could indeed smell whiskey that was coming from the corpse, so they bought the lie. And they paid the ghouls their money. Another victim had been sold for dissection. It seemed as if the pair's luck would never run out. But as we all know, good things must come to an end. And the pair's luck ran dry on October the 31st, 1828. That morning, Burke went by his favorite bar for an early drink. And in from the outside came a beggar woman who said she was looking for her son. Burke took one look at the woman, and all he saw was a sucker he could take advantage of. So he walked over to her and struck up a conversation, asking her what her name was. She said it was Maggie Doherty, and Burke's face lit up like a Christmas tree, because he knew he had an in. He placed his hand on the woman's shoulder and he said, "Why, Doherty is my mother's maiden name. We must be related. You have to come back with me to my house and have a drink. Better yet, you can stay the night and resume the search for your son in the morning." Well, that all sounded great to Maggie. She couldn't pass up a good drink or a place to lay her head for the night. So she willingly went with Burke, and Burke led her back to his place. A place he had been sharing with a family of 3 named Gray. And when Burke brought in Maggie, he told the Grays that they would have to leave for the night to make room for his house guest. So he sent them to Hare's lodging house for the evening. Now later that night, the Hares and Helen McDougal came over, and Burke took the group over to his neighbors the Conways for a Halloween party that went deep into the night. The group was absolutely tanked and retired back to Burke's for the night. Shortly after they got home, neighbors reported hearing Maggie screaming, "Murder, murder, police." But they didn't think too much of the screams because, after all, it was Halloween and it was a spooky holiday. The next day, the Gray family returned to Burke's and saw no sign of Maggie. But when Mrs. Gray went into her room to get the baby socks out of a pile of straw by their bed, she made a grisly discovery. Lying partially covered in the pile was the cold, dead, naked body of Maggie Doherty. Mrs. Gray came out of the room and told her husband. He turned as white as a sheet and packed up his family and left, and the Grays went straight to the police. And the police took them at their word. So they busted into Burke's house and found the body and arrested all 4 of the offending parties. But most of the evidence pointed to Burke. So they told Hare if he turned state's evidence against his now former partner, both he and his wife could have immunity. Hare agreed and started singing like a canary, and even testified against Burke at his trial. For his efforts, Hare and his wife were released and fled to London. Helen McDougal was also released and fled to Australia. Now as for Burke, he was not so lucky. He hung for his crimes on January the 28th, 1829, and just like every one of his victims, his body ended up on the operating table being dissected by medical students.
Good.
That's their story.
Okay, so wait, let me clarify something. So
Yeah.
It was Hare that had the boarding house, or it was
Hare had the boarding house.
Okay,
Yes.
so he was renting rooms, so he had basically an unlimited supply of potential bodies
Victims,
to
yeah.
sell. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But was it Burke that ultimately hung, or was it Hare?
It was Burke that hung.
It was Burke that ultimately
Yeah,
hung.
Hare was able to get away because when they found the body, it was in Burke's residence, and all the evidence seemed to point to Burke. So he turned state's evidence, and he was able to leave. And Burke was
Okay.
the one that hung for the crimes and not Hare.
Damn,
Now
he
they
got away by the hair on his chin.
boo.
Oh my God, boo.
No, wait. Okay, hold on. Question. Guys. I want to clarify a couple of things. Number one, why was the one lady naked? Do we know? Shelly, I got some bad feedback on your earplugs.
Yeah. I mean, no. I mean, I think probably because they were gonna shove her body somewhere and take her to be dissected. So
got it. Okay.
I don't think there was no like assault or anything like that. It was just.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then my other question is, Shelly, I still got issues. My other question is the student, the sex worker was the one that was killed, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Sorry, Shelly's feedback is very distracting.
Sorry,
Shelly,
I'll
pop in
fix
and
it.
pop out.
Okay.
I'm just,
but-
I'm muting her for right now.
Yeah.
Anyways, what was it? Sorry. Back to what I was saying, because I was like, it was very distracting.
You're fine,
lost my
man.
train of thought. My bad.
You're okay.
So anyway, somebody pointed out that did we catch this correctly? That the sex worker was the one that was killed, that was brought into the college, and the student was like, "Hey, I know her."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
It was
that's
like,
I didn't catch it at first, but one of our commenters did.
Yeah.
It was like, wait, the student knew the sex worker? What the fuck?
Yeah, the student knew who she was.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. No. So yeah, I mean, like that one. That was. I mean, they estimate they killed like untold amounts of people, because that they know that they at least killed, I think, 6 or 7, maybe more than that, but they think they may have killed like way more than that. Because it was like a constant stream. They were able to quit their day job, take the bodies down to the medical college, and continue to get paid. Now that's the thing, is like the doctor didn't even really ask any questions about what was going on. Like, so I mean, as long as he had a steady stream of corpses coming in, he didn't care.
Yeah, this was sorry, this was not uncommon in a time whenever they'd be paying to receive corpses. So I mean, this is probably one of the more well-known ones, but this was not an uncommon practice back then, to be able to sell the bodies to colleges, but on top of that, be able to snatch the bodies to be able to do so.
Yeah, I mean, that practice continued for a long time. I mean, there's like stories after story after story of like students actually going out with these people and digging bodies up out of graves to go be dissected in class.
Yeah.
So they can figure out like the inner workings of how the human body works. And at the time, that's the only way they knew.
It's the only way that they knew
how to get it. Yeah. But yeah,
I like a hair on his chinny chin though. That's my favorite thing. So
I'm going to.
Listen, I love dad jokes, okay? So you can get over it. I'm going to say all the dad jokes all night long, so it's all good. Continue, my friend.
Okay. Shelly, do you have anything else to say about that story before we move on?
No, I'm good. It's gross.
Now, this one may make you cry, Shelly. I'm not going to lie to you.
Okay.
So this is the story of the Sicilian fairy. Now, Caroline Fogel was born in Palermo, Sicily in 1815. She was the daughter of a man named Louis Fogel, and when she was born, Caroline only weighed 1 pound and only measured about 7 inches. She was the tiniest little thing that anyone had ever seen, and was taken special care of by anyone around her because of her small stature and her fragile health her entire life. Her father loved his daughter very much, and when he accepted a job as a musician in the orchestra at the Theatre Royal in Dublin, he brought his beloved little girl with him, and everything seemed to be going well. But by the time Caroline was 9, her health had taken a turn for the worst, because she had caught tuberculosis, and her father was absolutely devastated. And he just wanted to help his little girl, but he didn't really know how. So he went to work at the theater the next day and began talking to a man named King, and King told Fogel that his brother-in-law was a doctor by the name of Gilligan, who would be happy to take a look at the little girl and offer his help. Fogel was overjoyed and hoped the doctor could help his daughter. So he brought the little girl into Dr. Gilligan to be examined. The doctor meticulously examined Caroline, and when he was done, turned to her father and explained to him that the Irish climate was entirely too damp for Caroline to get any better. He said she needed to be taken somewhere else if she had any chance of getting better. So Fogel asked where the doctor suggested, and Dr. Gilligan suggested the south of England. saying the climate could heal the girl, and Fogel became visibly upset. And Dr. Gilligan asked him, "What's wrong?" And Fogel told him that there was no way that he could afford such a thing. Dr. Gilligan stroked his chin and told the little girl's parents that he had taken a liking to Caroline, and that he was actually about to take a trip over to England. And if they were okay with it, he would take the little girl with him and give her a chance to heal up, as long as they would allow him to put her on exhibit for a short time when they got to London, so that he could recoup his losses.
Wait, there is nothing wrong with this little girl physically except she's small in stature, correct?
Well, and has tuberculosis.
But tuberculosis would not be a drawing point. A drawing point would be that she's extremely small in stature, right?
Right now, yes. And so he's saying, hey, I think that she could go over here and get better. And the family's like, I
gotta put her on display.
Right. So I gotta put her on display when I get over here. But if you allow her to go with me, and I put her on display.
So she's coughing up blood, but she's gonna sit in her own little diorama and let people gawk at her every day to pay for her treatment. All right. What an asshole.
Oh, it gets worse. The Fogels molded over and realized this may be the best chance that their daughter had at survival, so they agreed to let her go. Dr. Gilligan set sail for Liverpool with little Caroline in tow, but he didn't wait to get to London to put her on display. He immediately put ads in the paper beckoning people to come and see the quote-unquote Sicilian fairy, saying she was born in Palermo and was born so incredibly tiny because her mom had an accident with a monkey which caused her to have fits and contribute to Caroline's small stature.
Wait, where'd the monkey come into play?
And that's just what he said. I don't know. I guess it said that's what caused her small stature.
This poor baby. Jesus. Okay, go ahead.
Naturally, the public became curious because of the strange story and flocked to see Caroline. All the while, Dr. Gilligan raked in the cash. But once the attendance for his oddity began to decline, Dr. Gilligan took the girl to Birmingham and then to Oxford, finally arriving in London in April of 1824. Once in London, Caroline's reputation preceded her. People lined up around the block just to catch a glimpse of the tiny girl. Money was coming in by the fistful, but Dr. Gilligan saw another way he could make more. For just a little bit extra, not only could you view Caroline, but you could also pick her up. And patron after patron took advantage of the deal, some returning numerous times to hold and marvel at the pint-sized Caroline. While in London, Caroline not only attracted the general public, she also got the attention of many important people, one being Everard Home, the surgeon to King George IV, and president of the Royal College of Surgeons. He looked over Caroline and made a big fuss about how special of a specimen she was, and went to the king and told him all about Caroline and her tiny stature. The king's eyes lit up instantly. The king loved curiosities, and he told Everard Home to bring her to him. Now, Dr. Home told Dr. Gilligan, and before they knew it, Caroline was in front of the king, and the king was absolutely enthralled, and fond of the tiny human he found to be delightful. Dr. Gilligan saw this as another opportunity to make even more money. So he decided to cash in on the meeting and keep poor Caroline in London from April to June. But there was one major problem with this decision. The doctor was supposed to have Caroline in a drier climate where she could get rest. But instead, he had her in damp, smog-filled London and had her constantly on display. Naturally, the girl came down with a terrible cough and became more frail by the day. By early June, it was apparent something was very wrong. But yet Dr. Gilligan made her perform until she collapsed. Dr. Gilligan sprung into action and grabbed Caroline, throwing her into the back of his carriage and speeding away from the scene. Caroline was dead. A few days later, Caroline's father, Louis Fogel, arrived in London looking for his daughter. Ever since she left Ireland, Fogel had not heard a word from Dr. Gilligan or his daughter, but had read in the newspaper that she had died. He searched high and low and couldn't find Gilligan or his daughter's body. So he went to the last known place that Gilligan and Caroline had stayed and asked the landlord had he seen them. The landlord said that he had, and as a matter of fact, Dr. Gilligan had left the day after Caroline's death still owing him rent money. Fogel then asked, did he know where his daughter's body was? The landlord said no, but he had overheard an interesting conversation when Caroline was still living. Several surgeons from the Royal College of Surgeons had come over to see her and told Dr. Gilligan that if she should die, the college would be interested in dissecting her and paying Gilligan £500 for her body. Fogel's blood ran cold. He hoped it wasn't true. He had trusted someone with his daughter's well-being, and that trust was utterly violated. Now to think that even in death, his daughter was being exploited, left Fogel with a feeling of despair left Fogel with a feeling of despair deep in the pit of his stomach. He had to find her body, and wouldn't rest until he did. So Fogel began to search at the nearby anatomy schools, and called on a man named Brooks, who ran the Brooks Anatomy School, and talked to the head of the school. And Brooks told Fogel that he had seen his daughter's body. He said that a man had come by with a cadaver and wanted way too much money for it, so he passed on buying it, but told him to go talk to Dr. Everard Home over at his office. So Fogel raced across town to Dr. Holmes' office and was shown inside. Fogel said he was looking for his daughter Caroline, and at first, Dr. Holmes thought Dr. Gilligan had sent him, and Fogel said no, he hadn't. He was her actual father, and Dr. Gilligan had stolen her from him. Dr. Holmes seemed surprised, and quickly told Fogel what had happened. He said that Gilligan brought Caroline's body to him and asked him how much he and the college would be willing to pay for it. Dr. Holmes said he didn't know, but he would pass the body along to the Surgeons College, and they would have to vote on a fair price to pay Gilligan. Gilligan agreed and said he would send for the money in a few days. So Dr. Holmes was confused when Fogel showed up, thinking he was working for Gilligan, and he apologized to Fogel and told him that he thought Gilligan was her guardian. Fogel forgave him because he knew he didn't know, but began to sob and said, "Please, I must see my little one again." So Dr. Holmes wrote him a slip and told him to take it to the Surgeons College and to tell them to let him see the body. Dr. Holmes also wrote him a check for £10 and said, "Please take this with my sincerest apologies." Fogel took the slips of paper and ran down the street to the Royal Surgeons College. But by the time he got there, he was sucking wind and could barely speak, until he handed the head surgeon the slip from Dr. Holmes. The surgeon shook his head and said, "I'm sorry, but you're too late." He took Fogel into the surgery room, and on the slab in front of him was his daughter's tiny corpse, splayed open and taken apart. Fogel began to convulse and cry uncontrollably. The surgeon said he was sorry, but Fogel had come too late. He led Fogel out of the room and gave him some money, and said, "I promise you no one will touch the body further." He put Fogel in a carriage and sent the dejected man on his way, and walked back into the room. The students had already begun cutting again. Today, poor Caroline's skeleton belongs to the Hunterian Museum, where she was a curiosity even in death, as throngs of visitors came to see her and marvel at her tiny stature.
Thanks for ending on that one, Ryan.
No, you're welcome.
God damn, dude. You couldn't have chosen any of the, I don't know, 300 other thousand fucking stories beside a preemie baby taken overseas and butchered?
That was not the best one, but that was the most interesting one that I found after that.
Was it?
Yeah.
Elmer McCurdy was pretty interesting. That's just fucking sad.
Right. But, to this day, they had her body on display. Like, her skeleton was on display at the Hunterian Museum.
That's awful.
But they eventually took her body off of display because people found out about the story, and they were kind of like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't display this person anymore. But they still own the skeleton. So that's go ahead.
So this poor baby, who most likely suffered from something like achondroplasia or something like that, some form of dwarfism, it was basically, she was sick. The parent allowed her to be taken in order to fix her, heal her. And this son of a bitch basically sold her to be cut up.
He did.
Are you kidding me?
So there was a story that I didn't include, basically, that, like, obviously the guy probably wasn't a doctor.
No, obviously.
And when they went to, it was either Liverpool or somewhere, someone had caught him talking like an Irishman before the show.
Okay.
But whenever the show started, he wanted to put on a fake Italian accent and act like he was the father of the little girl.
Oh, get out.
Yeah.
Please tell me somebody caught that.
One of the actors did, but kind of didn't really know what to do about it. But to this day, no one knows who Gilligan actually was. He skipped town and he was never seen again. But the little girl, her skeleton is still at the museum. Like, it's not on display anymore, but they own it.
Well, they need to bury that baby properly because she didn't deserve that. She did.
No. But that just goes to show you just how unethical these guys were. Like, they did not care. As long as they got whatever they wanted, they would take the bodies and they would just sell them at will to whoever. So that's, and once again, like, we don't sanitize history on this podcast. This is something that we talk about.
But you know what? Oh my God. This is one I could have gone without knowing. Seriously.
But
yeah, I don't really have I don't really have words to follow up that.
I don't either.
Just a fucked up story.
Yeah, well, hopefully that guy got what he deserved. But if you want to check out some, like, there's also stories of oddities in this book. The book that I used was called Body Snatchers, Stiffs, and Other Ghoulish Delights. It's worth checking out by Frederick Drimmer. There's all kinds of sideshow stuff in here too, but it's worth checking out. So yeah, so that is the story of body snatching.
I just don't. I don't understand how, as a human being, that, I mean, what one adult does to another, you know what? Everybody's all adults.
Right.
And you make your choices, you make your bed, you lie in it. But an innocent, you know, my thing is kids, animals, and old people, you leave them alone because 90% of the time they have no choice in their circumstances. But take this baby. This little baby girl who the parents entrusted this man with to make her better because they loved her so much they were willing to say, I'm going to trust you to fix her. And this man to do such awful things. Sell her body, have her dissected. I mean, get out of here with that. That son of a bitch has a special place in hell. And you know what?
He does.
I hope I get to fan the flames. I mean, because I'm going to go there. So, you know what? I'll be right there for him. It's like, please.
Like, he does, but I don't think that the onus falls solely on him. I think it also falls on the Royal College that was even inquiring about doing that to her in the first place.
They can only go, the purchaser can only go by what the seller is telling them. And the seller is telling them, hey, it's all good. This is all legitimate. And don't get me wrong, I think that they should have done their due diligence as well. But in that time period, the onus falls on the seller. And the fact this baby's body was sold to be cut up, that is reprehensible. That is unforgivable. And you know what? I don't even have words for that. That is brutal. I don't even have another word. They're awful humans.
Right, absolutely. And that just goes to show, too, how far medical ethics has come as well. Because back then, there really wasn't any. They would do whatever to whoever they wanted to do it to. It didn't matter.
With no recourse or any kind of I don't know the word. I can't think of the word. For the family, they have no
compassion, compensation, whatever. I mean, any of that stuff. I mean, I'm getting off this story. This story is just, I don't have any words for it. I think it's just a piece of shit. I hope he burns in hell. That's
absolutely
final thing on it, because we've got everybody in the comments asking for something else, something funny. Good job, Brian. This just tanked everybody's night. They're saying so in the comments right now. So back on some funny shit instead.
Okay, let's go to some funny shit, because this is like totally fucked up my night.
Like everybody in the comments is like, God damn, remorse. That was the word you were looking for, Shelley.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Anyways, everybody's sending you hugs right now, Shelley.
Yeah.
Thank you, because that was somebody's baby.
It's a terrible story for sure.
Yeah. All right. Changing the story. We're off that story. Unfortunately, body snatching is it was a real thing, obviously, that happened 1800s and small towns and very places that were lawless or anything like that, just for people to be able to make money. I think it shows the limits that individuals are willing to surpass to be able to survive.
Right.
It does, in a weird way, it does show some sort of resilience to survive in trying times, in hard times. Yes, it's fucked up. Yes, you're selling human corpses and stuff like that. You're digging up graves. You're disturbing the dead and all that kind of stuff. I don't agree with any of it. Don't condone any of it.
No, not at all.
But on a human level, it shows just how far humans are willing to go in order to survive some very hard and trying times. I do find the subject very fascinating because of all the different aspects of it, of selling to medical colleges, of just trying to make money off of sideshow pieces, for all the wrong reasons. Again, I don't condone it, but it is a fascinating subject to talk about. I definitely think we could have ended about digging up some different graves or something like that. But the depravity of the last one is truly how low people will.
Exactly. And that exactly what you're saying. That just goes to show just how terrible shit can get and how terrible shit got back then. And it's definitely it's a tough subject. There's a lot of like bad stories like the one we just talked about that will turn your stomach. And it's not a good practice. And thankfully I'd like to think we've moved past it, but I'm sure there's somewhere in the world that still happens.
No, we haven't moved past it. The only thing is that the people are alive now and they're being shipped into sex trafficking rings. That's the only difference.
That's true.
So that's where it's gone now. It's not dead body snatching. It's you're selling people into sex trafficking rings. That's where it's at now. That's the depravity of humanity at this point.
Right. Yeah, so. It's switched. But yeah, so that was body snatching. So sorry that we ended on such a down note. But
no, it's okay. Gentlemen, would you like to give your final thoughts?
I think I just did. I think that wraps up my final thoughts. I mean, on that, like that, it is a fascinating subject. I'm not going to repeat myself. It is a fascinating subject, just for what I just previously said. I think that it's still happening to this day, but it's in broad daylight, and it's happening around the world globally. It's just been more of a sexual nature instead of, well, I mean, there's still money behind it, but it's for all the wrong reasons still. So.
Right. And I'm with you on that. And I just think it just shows the depravity of mankind and what mankind will stoop to in order to make money, to make cash. Yeah. So what about you, Shelley?
I think that, while I think we have made advances, I think that there are people who genuinely donate their bodies to science because they want to advance medical. Sorry, I'm having a problem finding words. They want to advance medical science. The man that sold a baby under the guise of telling their parents they're going to fix that baby and make them healthy, there is a special place in hell for that person. And
oh yeah,
I wish I would be the one to get to sentence them there, because whenever you prey on the innocent, there's a cost. It's a cost to your soul. It's a cost to your humanity. And you know what? I pray that whoever did that they paid the ultimate price. And with that, Blake, why don't you tell them everything they need to know?
All right, sounds good. A few announcements. Our announcements are getting a little bit shorter, so bear with us. If you want to support the show directly, check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/EVP podcast. For just $5 a month, you'll unlock over 450 Patreon exclusive videos, including the pre and post broadcast, which are the 30 minutes before and the 30 minutes after this live broadcast. So you're getting an additional hour with us each week. Your support from this goes directly back to the show and towards the adventures we bring you week after week. And if you are not sure about joining Patreon, try it risk-free with our 7-day free trial. Make sure you stay connected with us. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and many more by searching Everything Vaguely Paranormal and looking for the green sound wave. Remember, you can catch us live every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook and YouTube. We have one more opportunity to see us in person and to watch us speak November 22nd, we will be at the KMFA Austin studio in Austin, Texas for the Strange and Extraordinary Fest 2025, along with Theories of Third Kind podcast, Indie Parahouse, Night Owl podcast, Brandon Hodge, and of course our good friends Damian Shalacy and Nicole Ricardo with the Parapeculiar Museum of Haunted Items. So tickets for that can be purchased at strangeandextraordinaryfest.com. And also make sure you subscribe to our Eventbrite page to be notified when public investigation tickets go on sale. We are actively trying to plan our 2026 calendar, our investigations publicly. Our investigations for the remainder of the year are done for this year, but be on the lookout for next year. We have so many different places we're trying to put on the calendar. So make sure you subscribe to Eventbrite to be notified first when those go on sale. To make it easier, we've added all of these links and all of our links to our link tree, which will be on the Everything Vaguely Paranormal Facebook and X profiles Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, as well as in all of our show notes for you audio listeners, or you can simply search linktr.ee/Everything Vaguely Paranormal. We are grateful for your continued support. Every like, comment, share, and download keeps the adventures alive. So if you have a favorite episode, share it with your friends. And one of the easiest things you can do to help out our show and its rankings is if you have a Spotify account, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're getting your audio from, head over there and simply download our episodes and leave us a review. If you have a story, comment, or question, or you'd like to be a guest on the show or have us as guests on your show, email us at theevppod@gmail.com. That is theevppod@gmail.com.
Go like, share, and subscribe to that YouTube page. Give us a thumbs up.
So thank you guys for tuning in to another weekly edition of Everything Vaguely Paranormal. I am Ryan Roberts. These are my partners in the paranormal, Mr. Blake Smith and Miss Shelley Pruitt, and we will see y'all next Tuesday.
Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.